Guys, Jennifer's getting ready to go live. Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to TRA Marketplace 2020. Thank you for joining us today for our restaurant design for the new normal. Please feel free to engage by asking questions in the Q&A window listed below. But without further ado, I'm excited to introduce that this is the Big Ben stage and is sponsored by Texas Mutual.
Morning, everyone. I'm Trent Patterson. I'll be leading this panel today. Oh, she's got that. Playing the video. Forgot about that.
Sound.
To kick off this session, that was the video from Texas Mutual. And to kick the session off, I want to introduce the moderator, Mr. Trent Patterson, and my Houston's very own from Dish Society. Welcome, Trent. I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ty. It's great to be with all of you today. I wanted to start off with just kind of going around the circle and having everyone introduce themselves, what they do, who they're with, so that we can give some insight to where everyone's coming from. Bruce, you want to start?
Sure. So my name is Bruce Reinstein. I'm a partner at Kinetic 12 Consulting in Chicago. I spent my career about 30 years owning and operating restaurant brands throughout the country, as well as consulting to emerging brands. And now what we do is we simply help operators, suppliers, and associations.
Stephen?
Yeah, my name is Stephen Wall. I'm Vice President of Design, Construction, and Development at Velvet Taco. Currently just working to grow the brand. Grew up in Yum Brands, learned how to, started there as a designer, did real estate, then went on to construction. So I got all three sides of the development game on multi-use restaurants.
Hey, Letha?
I am Letha Pugh. I'm co-founder of Bake Me Happy, a wholesale and retail gluten-free bakery and coffee shop located in Columbus, Ohio. I do not come from a restaurant background. I come from healthcare, the business side, and I'm also a founding member of Muse Hospitality, a new restaurant startup group here in Columbus.
And I'm Wendy. I am Letha's business partner and wife, and I am the baker at Bake Me Happy amongst a team, a crew, and we have flip-flopped what we do from pre to post-pandemic.
I forgot, yeah, we're married, yeah.
Joshua?
I am Joshua Zinder. I'm the managing partner at Joshua Zinder Architecture and Design. We're a 15-person architecture interior design firm in Princeton, New Jersey. And we've designed restaurants all around the world, from Singapore, Macau, Las Vegas, clearly in New Jersey as well. And we've worked for top chefs and all the way to quick casual types restaurants and bakeries and everything in between. And I'm currently the president-elect of the New Jersey AIA.
Awesome. Well, let's get this kicked off. The first question I had, start with Stephen, because I know that he's actively in the restaurant development area. But how do you see site selection really changing as we progress through things, on how you specifically will be changing how you decide where you go? And then ultimately, Bruce, Josh, and everyone else, how you see those things changing as we move forward?
Sure. Obviously for us, our day parts are lunch, afternoon, and then late night. So a big shift we've had to take was really evaluate the need for late night, or the lack thereof. Obviously with the mandates that are put on the bar scenes, there's really not a big pressure to pursue late night opportunities. So, and in addition to that, you're starting to see a lot of people work from home. And so a bigger priority for us has been put on finding locations that have a stronger daytime pop with access to a lot of the, families that are working from home right now. So I would say as you look at site selection, a shift to more of the suburban sites rather than the central business districts. But more importantly, it's really been about the drive-through and the accessibility. Anything that we can do, or to whether it's add a walk-up pickup window or to take advantage of a drive-through opportunity, those have been the biggest opportunities, just making sure that we have accessibility and despite the limited access to the buildings.
I think we've certainly been seeing, even in more urban areas, a push for people looking for outdoor space. Like if they're looking for a restaurant space now, they have to feel that they have some way of dealing with this type of thing in the future. And so certainly, outdoor roof terraces have now become like gold, and and rooftop gardens, things like that. We've also seen, certainly here in Princeton, we helped the town transform one of the primary streets into an outdoor dining area. And I was just in New York City yesterday, and all the parking has been taken up with little outdoor, temporary spaces, dining areas, and having that flexibility, I think, is really critical. And understanding that you can do that in a time of emergency is really critical for all types of restaurants.
Yeah, I think that, clearly what was a AAA location has changed. And, for all the brands that I work with, in fact, the brands that I had, in some cases, I had 10 locations within walking distance of each other in a financial district. Well, I would have had problems with those. You can't rely on any one thing, whether it's walking traffic or driving traffic. So I think the key is to develop multiple day parts. Site selection is really based upon not just what's happening today, but what's going to happen tomorrow. You can't lock yourself into one area of revenue streams. And so I think flexibility will be key.
I think for us, we actually had a purchase agreement for an 11,000 square foot facility literally a week prior to everything changing. And, we've really had to look at what works and what doesn't work for us. And we're almost moving to a production facility with these satellite locations that don't really focus on seating as much as focusing on the ability to serve people safely. We push out products to those areas, save money on the square footage, and so it really has kind of changed how we long term are looking at how we serve our customers.
And I think we can just segue right into our next question with you ladies, and then we can go from there. What are the questions that your teams and for the rest of everyone, your clients that are asking you in regard to design? Are there anything that are sticking out to people that they're interested in on how things might change and what you're doing to adapt your business moving forward to keep them safe and healthy?
Well, it's interesting. We decided not to reopen our seating area in our coffee shop. And had to quickly kind of be flexible in rearranging the space. And basically we've turned it into like a gluten-free headquarters bodega, using the square footage to increase revenue as opposed to, people hanging out and having a cup of coffee and on Wi-Fi all day. It has the customers, we have two tracks. We have the customers who want to be in and out, and then we have the customers who really want to come in and have that experience. But, having that experience, we found was very anxiety provoking for our staff. And for us, our staff are our front line. And so in trying to kind of, manage everyone's anxiety right now, we felt like it was a better choice for us to not go back to a dine-in scenario.
And we were very lucky. We never depended on turning over tables to increase our bottom line. So, and like Letha said, for future, we created an online pre-order that people have been using a lot to maybe have small kiosks where it's pre-order and pickup and in and out, and not people hanging out and, like Letha said, causing anxiety for employees and some customers as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of creative approaches, and it looks like you're doing that. You know, without question, smaller footprints is the direction everyone will be going in, but you still need to provide some type of experience for the guests. I mean, off-premise is not going away. Curbside is going to be here, and multiple areas of opportunity. And I always talk about fringe day parts. So, you know, not everybody eats 12 to 2 and 6 to 8. They can eat throughout the day. And, you know, a lot of my clients are actually doing pretty well because they're maximizing their space and maximizing the day part. So a lot of it comes down to being innovative, and, you know, it's a difficult situation, but you surely can't dwell on it. You got to really fight hard and look forward.
We're helping a client right now expand over their neighboring property's roof. And so they're actually going to be doing a second floor dining room, which is not going to be much of a dining room, but they convinced their neighbor to allow them to rent their roof and put outdoor dining on there. And, you know, the neighbor's happy because he gets a little bit of rent for his roof, which he wouldn't normally get. And they're happy because they get a huge footprint of outdoor dining that in a relatively urban setting they would never be able to have.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we've done something similar to that, but more on the streetscape in the central business district in Chicago. We teamed up with the other tenants along that street and basically went and petitioned to block off the road and turn the entire road into basically outdoor dining. That's been a big help. So.
But you know, it is specific to the, it is specific to what that business wants to do, because I'm also, as part of a restaurant group, we're looking for a space now, and our thoughts are, okay, we'll walk into a space, hey, this space, let's not think about what's happening right now. 2 years out, we want to be able to provide this or that, you know, and that makes it a bit difficult because, you know, you'll have this open seating area, a counter, you'll have seating in the area because you do want to accommodate customers, but you also know, you know, looking at your revenue, you know, we build in 2-3 drinks per person, and really that's not the reality right now. So we had to even back off in our financials and our projections, what we think we will do in the next year to 2 years.
Yeah, in the great state of Texas, we can still count on that because they can take a gallon of margaritas home with them.
A gallon?
So that's been very helpful.
Yeah.
So a lot of where the conversation in these times have led towards is the creation of more space, making the dining room feel more open, making those spaces feel more safe for those guests. So I know, ladies, this one, y'all have shut y'all's dining room down. But how do we dedicate more space in our dining rooms, and how are we approaching that while still creating more dedicated space to all of those third party and off-premise sales models that we're going through? Bruce,
is that really what you're seeing? Because I mean, what Bruce mentioned before, you know, that people are doing, you know, smaller dining spaces and, you know, pickup and stuff like that. I mean,
and I think I said that incorrectly. While we still have, there are still guests who are wanting to dine in. Those guests that do want to dine in want to feel like they have more space. I know earlier you had mentioned the rooftop dining, which is a great option there.
And the other thing too that Joshua mentioned, which is great, is that, you know, talking to your neighbors who have space, and the rooftop idea was spectacular, but also this storefront area that where they may have a few outside seats in front of their restaurant. There could be retail locations that aren't even open at night. And I've actually witnessed situations where an operator actually has more seats at night than they did when they were open inside. So they, the neighbors are helping, and you just have to ask them and be creative as far as that goes. But the other thing, and we had talked a little bit about this, is taking advantage of what I'm going to call parking lots and alleys, and you can provide an experience in space that's not being used, and it may require heaters and misters and creative ways of doing seating, and possibly even a temporary stage to have some type of culinary presentation or a movie screen or sporting event, and it can be pulled out during the heart of winter in certain areas. But I'm seeing a lot of that too. Parking lots are great spaces right now. They sit empty.
And that's the other side of this too. It's all weather dependent. We shut down, November through almost March. And so that's a whole set. The restaurant industry here doesn't really know what's going to happen during that winter period of time. It's going to be tough for people.
I'm up in New England, just so you know, and you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, in Texas, it's hot and 364 days of the year, and we get that one cold day that just messes with everyone, and everyone stays home. One thing that has stuck out a lot to us at our business is while restaurants have always been a place where we're hyper-focused on sanitation and guest safety, we've really tried to focus on making it more of a visible part of our show and really showing guests that, hey, here are the things that we're doing. We've done things like, instead of, we used to always say, we want you to keep those, the squirt bottles and the rags, they're kind of ugly. Keep them hidden, and we want to make sure that you're pulling them out and just using them briefly at tables. But we've almost turned them into part of the spectacle of what we do. We want you to wear it on your hip. We want you to have the towels across your arm, and we want people to know and see those things. What are things that you're designing into your spaces or that you've altered in your spaces to help really let the guests know that, hey, we're doing a lot more than we ever did before, and what we were doing before was already a lot?
Well, I can tell you just quickly from an operations standpoint, if you're going to do it, make sure you do it all the time. And I've found that certain companies and concepts, they're coming out with all these signs, and they're starting out doing everything, and then they get busy. And the first thing that goes is everything that they were promoting. And it hurts badly. So I think it has a lot to do with the culture of the team. Has to be about safety and sanitation. They have to be trained to do it. They have to be certified in it. And it should just become part of what they do each and every day.
One of the things that, we have a number of our clients that are looking to prepare for going back indoors, and because they are concerned about the winter, and they're concerned that, in order to survive, they need to have some service throughout that time period. So we've started looking at adding hand washing stations with UV downlights above them in their entryways and in their lobbies. And the notion is that the guests arrive and you don't need to shuttle them to the restroom right at the beginning of the dining experience. And in looking at this, we've actually found that in the 1920s, after the Spanish flu, having hand washing stations in the entries to restaurants and even homes was not uncommon. And just over the previous 100 years, it just stopped happening. And so we have a number of clients who are asking us to do that.
Like a cruise ship.
Sort of like a cruise ship, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Hey guys, I want to jump in there from the Q&A window. I had a Michelle Delier. She's saying that people are wanting to dine in more, and that they're looking for suggestions on how to accommodate people safely inside. and ways to use the plexiglasses and the dividers. She said, because right now it's getting harder and harder to seat people outside when the temperatures are so high. If you guys want to respond to that.
Yeah, one opportunity that I worked with a vendor to work on was actually taking plexi and hanging it down from the ceiling in different, particularly in booth situations where you might have a booth and you can set them on top of the booth. But we found hanging them down from the ceiling made it a little bit easier rather than trying to attach it to the booth where it just wasn't as secure. Obviously, spacing, making sure that you're spacing out the restaurant as best as possible. A big part of that is don't just push things off in the corner, just get them out of there, get them off into storage, declutter that space so it really has a perception of plenty of room for everybody. But the biggest thing is trying to get dividers between parties so you can maximize the number of seats you can have. But obviously the 6 foot distance is always recommended if you have the space.
Yeah, and I would reiterate that as well. We moved out our furniture even prematurely because we knew that guests wanted to feel like they had the space. And there's really only 1 or 2 days a week that we needed 100% of those seats because we started focusing on third-party delivery 4 years ago when all these things started coming up. So we've been blessed that we always had that supplement there, but our guests have been really appreciative of being able to navigate the dining room. And when I go touch tables in the dining room, they all say, man, like it really feels spacious in here. Like I have no concerns. You've got the hand sink at the front door. Your team members are wearing all these sanitation battle garb. And you've really gone, it's when people feel like you're going out of your way to make them feel safe and you have changed drastic things in your business, they appreciate that. And they're much more willing to participate in creating that safety, whether that's always putting that mask back on the second they leave their table or putting that mask on when they're just physically not eating or drinking at the table to try to help do their part as well.
I also think that the plastic barriers are really great, but people from what I've seen really want to know that they're being kept clean and that you're not sitting down into a dining space that, let's just say, somebody exposed themselves, and so they want to know that those plexi things are being cleaned and that the tables are being refreshed, and that's really important for patrons to see that happening and not just assume it's happening. People feel safer when they see it.
No, I just find it fascinating that we are having to show people how we're keeping things clean when that may have been your process all along. But now it's, we need to make a statement about, we need to say, these are the things we're doing. Some of the things you don't see, there are some very simple things that people can do also. There is an air filter. When you change your air filters every 15, in the bakery, we have to change them every 2 weeks, but basically it's a MERV 13 air filter. It's a little bit more expensive. But not everyone has access to the UV lights to put in the HVAC systems and things like that. But if you have a space, all your air runs through your HVAC. These MERV 13 air filters pull bacteria and viruses out of the air. I say this because I'm also a registered nurse. So, I'm just kind of explaining these are some things that happen in the hospitals too. You can also buy a room purifier, air purifier that pulls all the air through and it runs it through a UV light. So you switch it on at night, it pulls all the air through. You come through the next day and everything has run through this air purifier. So these small little pieces also that we communicate to our customers, help with also the partitions and the, touching the tables, cleaning the tables, and, just explaining to them how you're trying to keep the space safe.
You do have to be careful with adding the MERV filters to some HVAC systems because typically restaurant and dining facilities don't have the systems that are strong enough to force the air through those filters. So you get burnout motors and things like that happen. We've had a couple of clients that have had those kind of challenges. People trying to do their best to help improve the situation, and they actually burn out some of their equipment to add more money issues on top of their other money issues.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And there are there are UV and ionization systems that can be put into those HVAC systems. It does cost, and the efficacy of them in hospitality venues hasn't been proven. They're typically seen, in ERs and other places like that. But certainly that's going to be the future, I think.
Yeah, one of the systems that we're looking at actually generates gaseous hydrogen peroxide at a low enough parts per million into your dining room that it doesn't have any effect on humans, but it actually will reach equilibrium. They use them in the medical field is where they had come from, but they disinfect and destroy viruses and bacteria on surface. But the other added benefit from the hospitality perspective is they actually deter pests, because the gaseous hydrogen peroxide that goes in the air is larger than the aspiration pores on things like cockroaches, fleas, and flies, and it helps repel them or kill them if they can't find a way out. So it's an not cheap solution.
I was going to say, good Lord, what does that cost?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be about $8,000 to $10,000 a restaurant, but it's something that if it really fixes pest problems, then that's what we're waiting for, is to really see some restaurants we know that have actually installed the system to see what results they actually get from them.
Something as simple as just making sure the restaurant's balanced correctly is a big part of that. Making sure you're getting the right amount of outside air, right amount of fresh air into the system, and just working properly instead of just recirculating the inside air. Getting the fresh air, the outside air is a big part of that too. So.
And I don't know if it's part of the energy code or just our designer wanting us to spend more money on AC, but our restaurant that we have under construction, we're actually having to install a complete dedicated outside air system for our kitchen, as part of what he said was energy code, but it's obviously not super cost effective, but there is 100% of the air going in our kitchen at all times will be fresh air from the outside. So that's also a very interesting solution. The next question that I had queued up for us is, when it comes to design, a lot of what restaurants have been built on is we want to have super specialized individuals that are really great at doing a couple of things. And especially during busy times, you want that one guy just cranking out what he does. But in the new normal, we're not able to run with the same level of staff that we've had. So how is everyone looking at kind of the design and layout of your restaurants to encourage perhaps a lack of specialization and a focus more on a jack of all trades and people really floating around doing more than one thing?
I've been, talking a lot about this in, my Restaurant of the Future articles, and, without question, we must go to a multifaceted staff, a team that can do multiple functions, not specialized. One of the examples would be that you look at a server who has to take an order, bring the order over, take the payment. I'm seeing a lot, and I'm recommending a lot, where even in casual dining and fine dining, we're seeing the consumer is actually taking the wrap and placing the order and paying for it. And there's a server who's actually bringing the food to the table, but they're the same people who are bringing the food out for curbside, bringing the food out to virtually any way the consumer is getting their food. So it does eliminate labor and makes you more efficient.
What we've done, we actually we had an espresso machine. We actually suspended that for now because of contact time within the bakery. It's quite, people like to see the song and dance of the espresso machine, but we wanted to get people in and out as fast as we could. So we switched to drip and cold brew, which we have a pretty creative cold brew program. So it's satiated people. So what we've done, our previous specialized baristas have had to switch and do the jack of all trades, be the sanitizer, help with the bakery counter, still do their coffee drinks, but it's opened us up a little more that we don't have to have a dedicated barista on shift, that we can kind of switch people around and not be so dependent on that specialized person.
We've seen.
Yeah, I think you guys hit on something right there. It was just menu simplification.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to take a menu and simplified to the point where you're not chasing down one or two ingredients, and you're able to build a menu that still has some depth and some choices to it, but you can run it with a limited staff because you're not having to make any specialized items or pickled relish or what have you. So I think the efficiency just in the menu model was a big savior for us, and allowed us to really still produce the same amount of volume with a lot fewer people.
And we've definitely done that as well. That's a good point. There are some things we've cut, some things we've increased because we see them selling more.
Sure.
So that is definitely a very good point. Don't try to do the whole song and dance. Do your best sellers and the things that people buy and are asking for, and cut out some of the fluff for sure.
We've designed systems, pickup systems, sort of like old-fashioned mailboxes, where you end up having staff that only has to feed the boxes, and that people are ordering things through technology, coming in, look at window 15, they go up to window 15, they grab their order, and they leave because they've already paid for it, and they don't have to have that additional interaction. And what it's done is it's allowed the operators to have more efficient staff because they're not then going out, past that, and they have fewer people coming in, that are actually placing the orders. Most of the people are placing the orders either on their way or before they've even set out.
And that really lends itself into our next question about the zero touch environment. There's so many ways that we can approach our restaurants to help create a real zero touch environment. But one of the focuses of a lot of restaurants is around payment systems and how they accept and process payments in a no touch environment. Obviously with apps and things like that, it's been a great benefit. Some are even going as far as not accepting cash. And what are your thoughts on the payment process? What's too much? What's too far? Is there anything that's really off limits right now to help keep your guests and your team members safe?
It's when you look at the big picture of what's happened with COVID here, I think it's amazing. I'm a big picture person. We're in phase 2 for restaurants. Phase 1 was the grocery stores could not support everyone at the same time. And so it was like a necessity, and it was very much so. I want to grab this food. I do not want to interact with anyone. I want to get home. And then you kind of start to roll into, yes, we all need to eat, but we want some human interaction. We're missing this. We want to interact. And, the restaurant industry has kind of had to do this ebb and flow where you're trying to kind of balance out what everyone needs. For us, we did go to it was forced digitization. We basically went to a pre-order system over the weekend. And Wendy set it up, and it was really stressful. It continues to be stressful because now she has to do inventory every night after the shop closes, which has added to the day. But, as far as a contactless system, I don't know if you want to talk about cash and how we feel a little differently about cash.
Yeah, we feel that if you take away the option of cash, you're really marginalizing a lot of people who might not have a bank card, might not have a bank account. Mm-hmm. And if you refuse cash, you're really refusing a lot of your customers. So, I think most people automatically go to a card system just because we do have a card reader that is wireless. It's on their side. They put their card in. We sanitize afterwards. But I think refusing the thought of cash, you're really, discriminating against a margin of people who don't operate that way.
Yeah, I think I was just going to mention it. Clearly, there's no one way. I don't think there can be rules for the whole restaurant industry, clearly, but safety is first. And I think the thing that's changed the most from where we started with COVID is, we were really barricaded in our homes at the beginning. Well, now people are out at different levels. They want to eat at restaurants or from restaurants. And We can do a lot of things to help them with that as long as we keep it safe. And no touch is extremely important. But the thing is, it's different. We surely hope it's not going to go back to where it was in February, March. But we just have to be creative and give them the options. But, you know, I look at, you know, what Coke has done and Bun on no touch, and, you know, you can go to their machines now with your app and you can get products without touching anything. So a lot of that will be beginning to happen.
I mean, I haven't gone out to eat, but I like the idea of a QR code to look at a menu. You know, I've always been freaked out by menus anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I was desperate to get out to eat. I'm definitely a foodie. And so, I mean, I've been out to a number of my favorite places. And it's interesting how even at, you know, traditional tabletop restaurants, when you sit down outside, you know, they have little QR codes sitting on the center of their table, and they say, you know, touchless dining, you know, scan this, here's our menu. You bring their menu up on your phone or device, and you can order right from there. And then server appears out of nowhere with the things you just ordered, and you can, you know, it asks you, you know, would you like to pay for this as well? And you can be done with all of that beforehand, and then you spend the rest of the evening having a wonderful meal.
Yeah, the you know, part of with the QR codes, because we're part of that as well. We've got QR codes everywhere. A concern that I personally have, and I'm not sure if it's one that others have, is you know, the restaurants are starting to kind of look like the side of a NASCAR, with all the signs everywhere. Are there any things that you guys feel that restaurants should really focus on that's super important to communicate to guests through these new signs? Versus things that just become additional clutter or it's too much. At the end of the day, guests are only going to read 2 or 3 things when they walk in your restaurant. So what are those things that you guys feel are the most important things that operators should be communicating through new signage in their restaurants? Stephen, if you want to start.
Well, I was actually going to, you know, I don't know that it's necessarily signage. You know, from our point of view, it's really about having a strong floor leader that's out there directing traffic. You know, to your point about signage, you put all that signage up there and people don't know where to look or what to read or what order to do it in. So having somebody that can actually get out there during busy times and run that dining room and lead by example, have those tough conversations with the people that aren't wearing masks, and, you know, set an example for everybody. I'm telling you, the consumers that do want to buy into the mask wearing, they appreciate it when somebody from the staff can step in and correct that situation. So, you know, I really think it's about putting the right person out there in the dining room to really run the show. And, you know, yes, it's a little bit of an investment, but I think it's got a big payoff.
And there was actually a question, the Q&A about the mask there, on how people are doing that. I know personally in our restaurant, we offer masks to everyone who comes in the door, and it's $1 if you don't have one. Because we want you to feel some of the burden that all of us have felt, because we're playing by the rules and you don't want to. But our policy has been like, look, you can't come in, but I will graciously serve you outside. We have tablets that I can take your order. But we've been a pure, you don't walk in our door unless you put a mask on. And but we're not just refusing service. We've found a way to serve them that keeps the rest of our team and guests safe, but still accommodates them. I don't know if any of y'all are doing things differently or similar.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. I've told my staff, do not be afraid of a 1-star Yelp review. Mm-hmm. That is the least of our worries. Our priority is to keep you guys safe and to keep our customers safe. So we can always respond to a 1-star. The most important thing is to communicate that we require masks. If they refuse, we have the online pre-order that has exactly the same stock that's in our store at the time. So they can go on their phone, which I know they have one, and order. And then when it's ready, we can pop it out the door for them. So it's always good to set your rules and then have an alternative if they choose not to follow that rule. And you've accommodated them and there's no issue.
Now, is Texas mandated mask?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And you still have people try to come in with no mask?
It's a very small number of people for us,
yeah,
and it's I have two staff members who actually had dealt with MERS back in the day when they lived in Europe, and they're not playing around with it. Like they will stand at that door and say, "Look, we love you, and I'm going to be respectful to you, but here's a mask, put it on, or you're going to have to stand outside and sit on a patio table in the you're not behaving corner, and we will take care of you over there. We will serve you and we will treat you with respect, but." We've never really tolerated people being obscene or yelling at our staff. We've been very quick, even pre-COVID, to like, we're not messing, like, I'll serve you to death and I'll love on you, but once you start calling my staff names, you're a different tier of person, and we're gonna get you out of there.
You know, I always try to approach, we've just had not even one or two people, but the bottom line is nobody wants to wear this mask. You know, it's 90, 100 degrees out here. But it's something we're trying to do. And, you know, for us, we serve a population that, you know, some of the gluten-free folks have some immune system issues to begin with. And so early on, we started wearing masks in the shop. And I think we just kind of, and I was going in on Saturdays because it was just what we learned those first few weeks was we're this niche in the food chain that we were really overwhelmed. And so we were trying to go in and work too, and just kind of, you know, see what the environment was like. And we were wearing masks early on, and I think we kind of set the tone, like, hey, this is what we're doing here. And we haven't had a lot of issues with it. But I also think there's a line you cross when you start to curse and cuss out the staff. You probably shouldn't be served here anyway. Yeah. You know, it's one thing to say you don't agree with it, but it's another thing when you go into the disrespect piece of it.
Actually, I want to bring to your attention, that was another thing that was placed over into the chat that you guys could probably chime in and help some others on that can't see this particular information that was placed in there. But some people are going to Yelp. Some people are going to all of they're assassinating the character and integrity of franchises and restaurants based on the fact that they are enforcing certain things for the safety of all. So didn't know if you guys had anything you wanted to say to encourage or to help them through when they see those things taking place on social media. You know,
I would encourage a statement on their website. And then I would encourage in having someone craft it that help you put your words out there on social media. You know, we as a restaurant owner, we've tipped around worrying about social media reviews, you know, and, you know, people are human and they have bad days, and you come in on a bad day and you might not get the service you typically would get. And then immediately there's this 2-star review. And, you know, I think we're in a cancel culture right now. And so the way that you can kind of attack people is through social media, and it's really hurt a lot of businesses. Yes. But I think having a statement that you craft and is consistent as to why you're having people wear these masks. Other than it's also the law, right? You know, we literally could not operate if we did not mandate. Here in Ohio, you cannot sell alcohol after 10 p.m. And if you sell alcohol after 10 p.m., you run the risk of they are actually pulling your liquor licenses. Mm-hmm. And so they're sending folks out too to test the systems. And when the customers don't comply, it hurts the business, and we're already hurting. And so craft your message around, we're all in this trying to get through it together, and we need your support as well. So, you know, that's a tough situation though. I really do feel for folks.
And we've had success just communicating with the platforms. We've had 2 reviews removed from Yelp because I responded to them and said, look, this is the law. They're not complaining that like you have to wear a seatbelt or that like the light was red and I still wanted to drive. So like, it's the law. I can't do anything about it. And they've actually removed those. And it's the same thing on the local foodie pages on Facebook. We've always been good friends with those admins. It's like, look, they're raking us over the coals because we're abiding by the law. Can we get this removed? And they're usually quick about it. Most of them have gone to a system where they have to approve those messages before they'll even let them go in there, and they're just filtering those kind of crap out before it even gets there. So.
Well, that's good to know. That was the last thing I was able to find that someone did have concern about. I hope that answered a lot of questions. Trent, if you would like to close out, if you have anything you would like to say, we have reached our time. I would like to personally thank you on behalf of the TRA and the entire industry. I have enjoyed meeting you guys, and you are always welcome back to participate with the Texas Restaurant Association. Trent.
Yeah, thanks for everyone who attended today. Hope that it was helpful. I think that y'all have got some of our emails or contact information outside of this. If you're interested or have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always here to help. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone stay safe and healthy.
Stay safe.
In response to the pandemic, Texas Mutual will distribute $330 million in dividends to eligible policyholders 2 months ahead of schedule. We're also sending $2 million to nonprofits on the front lines of the COVID-19 effort. Better days are coming, but in the meantime, we'll be on the job helping Texas businesses. To learn how dividends are supporting employers in this time of need, go to texasmutual.com/dividends.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.